Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at these DX Transformer Kabaya Candy Toy Model Kit sets. The first one is Grand Convoy, as Energon Prime was known in Japan. And then we have the Grand Force, which is the set of 4 drones that he used to kind of get his power up form. So Kabaya's been doing model kits for Transformers for years. I didn't know they ever did Energon ones. I just found these randomly on Mandarake and I was intrigued. So I decided to procure them, and now I'm going to put them together and share them with all of you. I think they look pretty neat. As you can see, there apparently was an Energon Megatron as well. Maybe one day I'll have to try to track that down. But I just thought it looked really neat. Obviously, the one box is going to have me build Grand Convoy, and then I have to build the Grand Force, and then this is the typical configuration. But you can mix and match them as it shows right here, which I think is pretty cool. So I don't know, these just seemed like a lot of fun. I'm definitely excited to try to put them together here. I guess that's pretty much it for the packaging. The packaging of the back looks pretty much exactly the same here. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to go ahead, get these open, put them together, and then we'll take a closer look. So I was actually completely wrong. I just assumed because it was a Kabaya set that it was a model kit that I had to put together. But these are actually small, fully painted little transformable toys. It's actually awesome. I really like this quite a bit. So in the first box you get Optimus here, or Grand Convoy. Now the only thing you really have to do is this piece comes off and you peg this piece on here and then you peg this piece on here. That's really the only assembly that you have to do. You also get this gun, which you can see pegs into this little spot here on the back. Very simple, so I'm just going to take that off. To transform him, you're going to flip the legs down like so. You're going to temporarily just move that out of the way, and you're actually going to completely remove this. Now, if you want, you can take this section off, and then these will all just kind of fall out. Easiest way to do it. Then you can kind of move this back. This has 2 peg holes here on the back, which are going to peg into these 2 pegs right here. So you're just going to... There's also these little channels you can see right here and here, and that's going to slide onto these little kind of nubs right there. So you just kind of line that up and then peg that in there. The feet will flip down like this. Now, unfortunately, these are not the best, and you can get them to stand, but it's very simple for this to kind of start back, and then once it does, because he's pretty back heavy, this is just going to completely fall up and he's going to fall down. So you kind of have to push it down, and then he'll stand. But like if he starts to fall back at all and those things kind of get out of like the notch that they're in, he's just going to go completely back because they fold up naturally that way. I kind of wish, I don't know how they would have done it honestly to change it up, but if there was a way so that, you know, it couldn't go like this and maybe it flipped around, I don't know, something. But I guess the way due to the transformation it had to be this way, so no way around it. You can flip the little head back like so. And then you're just going to take those arms from earlier and just peg them right here on the side. So just peg that in and peg this in. And there you go. You have your Grand Convoy. He's pretty cool. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of articulation. The head really can't move at all. You can move the arms because it's just a peg. He does have a hinge here. The rest of the arm and hand and everything is solid piece, and it's actually hollow underneath, which is a bit of a bummer. And then you have a little bit of out to the side, as you can see here, with the hips. You can front to back, no problem. But then this is all one solid piece, just the feet stick out. So you can go ahead, and you can see what I mean right there right away. He wants to fall back. So it is kind of a bummer. You do have to get him posed just right. I'll give him the gun here. Pegs in rather simply. So if I can get him to stand, it's, I don't know, it's weird. You kind of have to get like both sets of the feet, front and back, to kind of point down a little bit like that. And then you'll get him to stand. Well, I guess maybe if you just lean him forward a little bit like that, he will stand. It is possible. It's just annoying because of the way it transforms. You really have to get the weight distribution right, or else he's just going to completely fall back because those are just going to fold in like that. So that is a bit of a bummer, but if you just pitch him forward a little bit, that should work. But yeah, he looks pretty cool. I really like the little robot mode there. I would say he's probably like almost 4 inches tall. So if you have like other 3 3/4 inch figures or 4-inch figures, he'd probably work. Like, let's see, just for an example, here is a Spin Master Joker. You can see that he's pretty much the same height once I can get his feet to stand. And then here is a reaction figure Foot Soldier. So he's a little bit taller. So he's probably, it's pretty close. Honestly, he's probably somewhere in the area of 3 3/4 to 4 inches tall. Decent amount of articulation, but I mean, this is all painted. That's all painted. The Autobot symbol. The face is fully painted. It's super tiny, but it works. I think it looks good. So I think this is awesome. I really like this a lot. The wheels don't spin, which would have been nice, but it's not a big deal. You can still store the gun on the back if you want. It can plug into the same place that it plugged in on the truck mode. But yeah, I think he's pretty cool. He's got a decent amount of articulation. Not a ton, but he's got a decent amount. Let's see if I can get him to stand again here. The trick is kind of like you have to pitch him forward a little bit and then have those kind of act as like they're tilting him just a little bit like that. So hopefully that stays. But then I feel like as soon as I change it, he wants to fall over. Yeah, it's not perfect, but let's move on to the Grand Force. So we have the 4 individual little vehicles. Again, wheels don't spin or anything like that, but again, fully painted. No stickers had to be applied whatsoever. The little fire truck has the ladder that can move up and down. This little piece can pop out to about there. I mean, if you pull any harder, it's just going to pop all the way out, but then you can just pop it right back in. So I would say probably about there. So it has a little ladder, which is kind of neat. They do have both feet and arm transformations, so you can go ahead, pop this out. This will open up like so, and then you flip this up, fold that back in. Pretty similar, honestly, to how the original toy transforms. It just obviously doesn't have any kind of bicep swivel or elbow joint, so it's just a solid piece. But, you know, you have an arm transformation. Not too bad. If we put it back into the fire truck here, you can swivel it this way, and now it's a foot. So pretty cool. All 4 can be either, which I think is pretty impressive for something this small. Next up, we have the helicopter. So first I'm going to fully transform it because it does have the tail that pops back, and then the copter blades which spin around. So pretty cool there. Again, fully painted. Looks pretty good. I think it's funny how it still says OP2 for Optimus Prime, even though in Japan he was called Grand Convoy. Should say GC. But the blades spin well enough. I mean, if you flick them, they don't really move around all that much. I guess they move around more than I expected. But they don't, like, spin continuously. But again, this is when we transform this one into an arm, I don't really care for it all that much, because this flips back like this, and then obviously this flips back and this goes out like this. But that's really it. There's not really anything you can do with the front of this. With the fire truck, this whole piece swivels, and it still does, but you can't really tuck this underneath. It's like too big, and because of the piece for the rotors, it would get in the way anyway. So you kind of just have to like leave it sit there like that, and then this just kind of hangs out. Now I will say this works better than the original toy, where mine always fell down. Because these aren't so heavy, you can actually have it stay up like that. But I don't like the helicopter as an arm that much, just because there's too much stuff in the way here, and I don't like the blades get in the way. So to me, he makes a better foot. You would just put this all back like so, and then transform it just like that, and then boom, you have a foot. Next up, we have the driller. Pretty simplistic, really has hardly any moving parts whatsoever. The foot transformation is very simple. You just lift this piece up and then flip this around. Oh, I'm sorry, just this piece moves. That's it. There's your foot. And then obviously if you want to do the arm, you just swivel this part like that. Very simple. Very simple for the driller. And then the submarine is basically the same thing. You can see the capture claw down here. Does not open, unfortunately, one solid piece, but it is painted. If you want to do the foot, you swivel that down. If you want to do the arm, you swivel that up. That's really all there is to it. So the driller and the submarine are probably the least exciting of the two, but the original toys were honestly very similar. They didn't really have, I mean, obviously the original toy, this could open and close. You had a joint here and here so they could both open. And the driller, I think the drill spun on the original toy. Obviously that doesn't happen here. There might have been wheels in the treads of the original toy. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, overall, I still think they're pretty cool. Let's go ahead. Let's get into a transformation here. I guess first up I'll do the classic configuration that we saw on the show the most, which is to use 3 and 4 as feet. And then we will do these two as arms, even though I don't really care for this transformation. I'll show you the one that I usually end up doing after this. So we'll just kind of leave that out there like that. And then we'll take this one, flip this around, fold that in, and there we go. Okay, so to get Optimus ready, flip the feet up, and that's why there's really no other way you can do that. Those have to flip up like that. You're going to put the arms straight out like this, and then you can go ahead and hopefully not unpeg that. This just comes over and folds over top of the head. Pretty much exactly like the original toy did. The only thing with the original toy was that these had flaps on the side so they could lift out, and it obviously doesn't have that. Also, these things on the side, I believe in the original toy, were all gray, and for some reason they've split the color there. It honestly doesn't look bad, but it's a pretty decent little head. It's just so funny, like his eyes and his mouth inside look so small. And it honestly kind of did on the original toy as well, but here even more so. And then you're going to flip these open, and there you go, you are ready. So you take this, slide it up, and you'll hear kind of a little click. They're not, it's not so tight that you can't get them off, but they're not going to fall off if you just shake them, which is pretty cool. Now these will actually go in probably a lot deeper than you think they're going to. Usually I like to leave these closed actually just to get these done. Honestly, what you could do, it might be a little bit easier this way, to take this off and peg it in this way, because I'm always afraid I'm going to break it, but you just push it all the way in like that. And then we'll do the same for the other. And you can 100% still leave it connected to the body. I just think it's a little bit easier to do it this way. You can get a better grip on it. And then you just go ahead, plug these back on, and of course his helmet flew right off, and where did that end up? Let's go find that. That's funny. I've been tinkering with this for a while, and I really didn't have any trouble with that falling off, but... And then you just open these back up. And there you go. There is your fully assembled Energon Optimus Prime, or Grand Convoy. Now at this point, these are supposed to stay splayed open a little bit, but mine doesn't really seem to want to. I kind of wish it would. But you can still kick forward and back, which is no problem. You can still use this movement here. Obviously, this gets a little bit in the way, but you can just kind of pull these open. Honestly, you can, the way around that, it's a little bit simpler. Just kind of don't attach these as much. Just pull them out a little bit to about there. And then you can open this up and it'll kind of fit in that space. And then you can kind of move these around without difficulty as far as your articulation and whatnot. Because really, that's the only articulation you're going to have is that spin. I guess technically because of the arm inside, you could do that a little bit, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. And then where is his gun? Is that still on his back? Yes, it is. So you can take that off of here, and he can have this hand hold it. Really, either hand could, but... So he can still use the gun in this mode. I just think this is fun. I mean, for a tiny little candy toy, it reminds me of, like, back in the day when they used to sell those, like, Voltron, where you could take the limbs off, but you couldn't really move them. Like, I had a little tiny Voltron about this size when I was a kid, and you could take the lions off, but the leg lines were always L-shaped. They had no articulation whatsoever, so while you could unplug them, you could not, like, bend the head down or do anything. This is something like that, or like those little Megazord sets I used to have back in the day where, like, it wasn't the DX Megazord, it was like $15 or $20, and it had limited connectability and posability, but it wasn't like the DX toy. That's what this reminds me of, and I think it's really, really cool. If I remember correctly, I think each box was about 1,000 yen on Mandarake. I feel like that's pretty fair for what you get. Honestly, fully painted, decent articulation. All 4 of the little, force figures or support cast, whatever you want to call them, can transform into an arm and a leg. Some of them even have like rotating blades or the little ladder that moves up and down. I think this is pretty cool. I'm actually really impressed with this, and I'm glad I decided to pick it up. I thought it was a little model kit I was going to have to put together, and I'm actually kind of excited that it's not. Now, with it being a model kit, it might have had a little bit more articulation, but honestly, I'm perfectly happy with this. It's pretty decently painted. Articulation is a nice compromise. I feel like you have the main points that you would need, but obviously you could have a thigh swivel or an elbow would be nice, but I'm not going to complain about that kind of stuff. Now, I do want to show you the other configurations because, like I said, you can move these around. Usually what I do, I will switch these because I don't really care for the helicopter as a hand because I just think it has too much kibble. I thought that about the original toy as well, and the blades get in the way. So I'm going to transform this back, flip this up, flip this down, and make him the other leg. And then usually I kind of alternate between the drill hand and the submarine hand. But in this instance, I think the drill hand's a little better because I don't know, I just think it looks a little better. When you take away the grabbing claw for the submarine, it kind of makes it useless in my opinion, but it works great as a foot. So yeah, I kind of just like to do some attacks with the drilling hand. So yeah, pretty cool. And again, just for size comparison, if we bring in that like reaction figure foot soldier, if we bring in like a Fortnite figure, you can see that I would say he's probably about 5 inches tall now at this point. If these guys are about 4, maybe even 5.5. Here, let's do a Masters of the Universe Origins figure. Yeah, I would say probably about the same size there. Maybe the Origins figure is slightly bigger. Yeah, so I'm going to say he's about 5 inches tall if I had to guess. I would say he's about 5 inches tall. So pretty cool. I think it's fun. I think it's neat. It's a fun little toy. Like I said, I'm sure this came out way back in the day when Energon was airing in Japan. So if you want something like this, definitely going to have to check the secondary market. Going to have to check Mandarake, Yahoo Japan auctions, things like that. But yeah, fun little candy toys from the past. Definitely really like this and really glad I decided to pick it up. I was honestly really excited when it wasn't a model kit. Not that I don't like model kits, but when you think you have a project ahead of you and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I can just play with this right away. I don't have to do any stickering or put it together or anything. And I think it's fun. I'm really impressed with it, honestly. For the price and the size, I really am impressed with the level of paint applications, articulation, compatibility, transformability, all those different options and things. I think it's a ton of fun. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.